We always gotta wait. Okay.
All right. I'd like to call this meeting of the Town Planning Commission to order.
You gotta use that.
On March 10th, 2025 at 5 o'clock. Please allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's start with the approval of the February 10th, 2025 minutes as presented. I can have a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
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 First thing we'll do is the pure permit for Beaudry, 6425 North Michigan. You can come forward, please. I know, but please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Boudre, 6425 North Michigan Road.
And we've got your information here. We'll see if anyone on the board has any questions for you.
Harry, I have a quick question. This is Tom. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
So I just wanted to ask the applicant, is this a seasonal pier or a permanent pier?
It's a permanent pier. We just purchased the house in December and the guy had it put in last year and we're going with the same company.
Okay, great. Just, you may be aware of this, but just a reminder on that there are reflector and notification requirements for a permanent pier that need to be installed on there in order to be compliant.
Okay, I'll let him know. He's been here before, he said. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else? No questions? Do you have anything that you wanted to tell us?
No?
Mr. Supervisor Schwartz?
Just a quick question, there's a small wood pier next to it, that's not gonna block the access to that pier now, will it?
No.
Okay, because I stopped yesterday, but nobody's almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just one.
Yes, no, it won't block anyone's access to get out.
Okay,
Thank you.
so I'll take a motion for that. Someone would like to make one?
I'll move to approve, Terry.
Thank you.
Next year, I'll second.
Well.
I'll second.
First and second, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we've got Pulaski 6708 Burma Road for a chicken permit. And again, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Paula Molaski, 6708 Burma Road.
So you've got your application, and it looks pretty. We've got the maps. And does anybody have any questions on her? All I'm gonna say is that I did get one person who called me regarding the problem with chickens on Apple Tree. Just so you understand, I guess the person has a run, but they have the fence low, so the chickens keep popping out and they keep running out into the road and running into the yard. So just so you understand that the ordinance and.
Yeah, the plan is to have fence over the top of the run.
Anybody? Would anyone like to make a motion?
No, I just got one question and I'm sorry, it's the farmer in me, right?
Sure.
But maybe you could just speak a little bit to, what your management plan is during the winter.
Sure. So the goal is to do like the deep litter management system, and I do have quite a large garden in my yard, and I have multiple compost bins, and so I do have a rotating compost bin, and so the goal is to keep them in the enclosed rotating compost bin and continue to break it down over winter.
Okay, great, super. I mean, I appreciate that because a lot of times, you're thinking about the seasons and and then winter rolls around, and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up and take care of the chickens. So, good for you, good for the chickens.
Anybody else?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
First and second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? All right, thank you very much.
And you all know who you can buy eggs from.
I'm pretty sure that's against the town ordinance to sell it.
It was a test.
I was just getting, yeah.
All right, so move to number 6, amendment to a subdivision plat, Steiska, name and address, please.
Sure. Steve Stiza, Land and Home LLC of Conemaugh, Wisconsin. Basically, the developer Harmony Homes, when we originally did the subdivision Dollars Bay North, we retained ownership of Outlot 3 and Outlot 4. And on the plat and in the declaration of restrictions, we gave notice to all future buyers and owners of the properties that they could be future lots as stated on the plat as well as in the declaration of restrictions. So at this time, we'd like to have the plat amended. And the reason it needs to be amended is only if you have an outlot restriction release that you can build a home on an outlot, or a mound septic permit release, then it's considered an amendment to the plat and it has to be run through the state. It's actually a restriction release, but basically because we're asking for that restriction of no home being built on the outlot release, we have to go through that process. And just like your preliminary plat process, it has to come in to talk to the planning commission, to let them know, I guess, that direction.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? I do know that we have, I'll let the board go through the questions first, and then we do have someone who would like to respond as well.
That's fine.
Did you have any questions for him?
No, not right at this moment.
So I do have a Pat.
Okay, I'm sorry, can I have one more thing?
Sure.
It does meet the town and the county's, minimum lot size requirement, and there is sewer available to the lot. And right now it's unproductive as an outlot, and the county and the state do allow outlots to be built on. Clear.
And then Pat is available to fill out the form.
Yep.
When you come forward, please, and state your name and address for the record.
Pat Flesh, 5106 Willow Lane, Waterford. Do all of you guys, if you get an email and an attachment that I have a couple extra copies if you didn't. So first, I'm sorry?
They all have.
Okay. First, I'd like to say that I oppose that, and I think, as you'll see in the stuff that I sent you, so does my whole homeowners association. Let's start with the fact that when this subdivision was approved, it had to go through the Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. And in their letter dated that you have a copy, it says, sorry, put my glasses on. The commission would recommend that the final plat contain upon its face a prohibition against the filing or development of the remaining corridor area. I talked to Ben McKay, who's the current guy in charge, and he says they're not changing that position. They do not think that Outlot 4, because it is a primary environmental corridor, should be ever built upon. Then in the letter from the county dated 24 March 23, Brian Jensen said, therefore is defined in chapter 18, the outlot may not be utilized to construct a principal structure unless it's changed, as the gentleman's requesting, with adjoining properties to it, i.e. making it bigger. It's a rather skinny piece of property. And then speaking to Renee Powers at the state plat representative, she said that outlots 3 and 4 are encumbered and cannot be built upon unless they have additional land. Attachment 2 that I gave you which got sent to the county and to Terry, who said that our whole subdivision does not want this to go through. So please take a chance to take a look at all that stuff. If you have any questions, I've given you my contact information. Anybody from our homeowners association? Okay, I'm sorry. We have other next door neighbors that are on the other side of that land that are not part of the subdivision. That, I don't know if you're gonna let them speak or not. And there's another gentleman that's in a different subdivision next to it. He's firmly against it. He's down in Florida. And I just told him to contact you guys. If you want to reach out to me, I can give you his contact. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to speak?
Hi, I'm Eric Jorgensen. We are at 5110 South Loomis, so our property is basically adjacent to the lot that is proposed to be, I guess, rezoned. And I only heard about this yesterday, so I have the bare minimum of information on it at this point. But my understanding is, just from reading the homeowners association documents, as well as the environmental, this pathway to the river, that it's supposed to be established. It seems pretty straightforward to me that that lot was created that way for a specific reason. So that's all I'll add to it. At this point, I'm opposed until I get further information.
Okay, so did you give your name and address for the record?
Do you have your address, or just your name? Okay.
Eric, ERIC, Jorgensen, JOR, GENSEN. You mentioned.
Any questions from the board?
Gary, I just had I sent Tina a chat here on this, but the emails and documentation that the other gentleman was referring to, I don't have that. Was that in the packet? Because I'm not
No.
seeing it in the packet.
No, they just provided it today.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have that in front of me, so I'm not sure that I followed his entire train of thought, aside from the overarching opposition piece of that.
Yes, I get it.
I guess,
Okay, so we still need.
may I
to
rebut
approve the
or
county
answer
with the
some
DOA.
questions?
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
So we still need approval from the county and from the DOA, correct?
Exactly, both the county and the state, yeah. And it's, sewer pack is advisory only. They're not approving or.
But before the subdivision started, according to their letter, that they essentially have some sway over that.
Yeah,
And they are not going to change their position. So,
well, that's fine, but they're neither approving or objecting authority. They're only advisory. And as far as there's two very large lots in that subdivision that are in the upland environmental corridor. And in the upland environmental corridor, you're allowed 3 acre density, but this is a sewer, and in your sewer and upland corridor, you're allowed the 40,000 square feet up to an 1.5 acre lot. And this meets that requirement. And if you go to the overall density, it's like 15 acres, I believe, that's primary environmental corridor. And 2 lots are in the corridor, and two other lots kind of abut the corridor. It's no different than what we did in the original Fowler's Bay. We have many lots there that are 40,000 square feet, and the back half of the lot is corridor. And I'd like to remind that when they accept their deed to a property, they abide by the restrictions and the plat that is state law, state statutes. I think Mr. Dudas could attest to that.
Every one of these is law, right?
Well, try to, and we try.
might I
we try to
comment though,
inform
that those of us that buy the house second usually end up getting our homeowners association thing like 6 months later. So.
ignorance of law is,
And I just had a question. You say
Sure.
something about a mall system or?
Well, what I'm referring to is the state, if there was a mound restriction on the lot, and you wanted that removed, then it would have to be run through the state, just like the
Right.
building a lot, I don't know, a lot. It would still remain an outline, just be able to.
Thank you.
Any other questions or clarifications?
Any questions or comments? Yeah. Yeah, well,
The stuff you got today.
I would almost, yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that it just came today though.
second motion.
I would like to make a motion to table this till next month so we can review the packet a little bit better and support it.
I'll second that.
So we have a first and second, any more discussion from the board? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're tabling it to next month, so.
I'm just gonna ask ourselves, is there any additional information that we would want? If there is, and we don't have to think about that now, but, you know, just so that we're prepared for the.
Yeah.
You had everything Mr. Stiza submitted. You had everything that Mr. Stiza submitted. It was unfortunate that they didn't get that information to Terry tonight
Yeah,
or this afternoon.
And I guess I'm just opening it up, if there's any
Yeah.
additional information people want to provide to us to help us make an informed decision, I mean, that's what we're about.
So Max, one question that's kind of rolling around in my head, and it kind of goes to the other gentleman's comment about the what he sees as the narrowness of that lot. And in looking at the plat, you know, that was maybe the first thing that jumped out at me was the relative narrowness of that lot, and wondering if a structure was to be built on that lot, where and how would it be positioned, and what kind of restrictions, you know, setback restrictions and whatnot might be in existence given the dimensions of the lot. So that would be one question. If there's additional clarifying information that could be brought forward next month for the discussion about structure placement, that would be useful.
I think he's got some information for you now.
I could answer that now if you'd like. Under that zoning classification and 50-foot front yard setback, 50-foot rear yard setback, and 15-foot side yard setback. And there's enough area on the north side of that lot to create like about 130-foot long building envelope and about 50-60-foot deep building envelope that tapers slightly. So there is more than enough area to build a home on that lot. I mean, originally, if we would have acquired the other property, we have 2 additional lots or 3 additional lots. So actually having one is might be better than having 3.
Yeah, so 139.
Did you want to make a quick comment? You come forward real quick.
My name is Scott Zolke, address is 28615 Bay Meadow Drive. On the agenda, it mentions for this topic that the lot in question is adjacent to 28629, which is my next door neighbor. I'm actually 28615, so we both back up to this lot. This actually came on, I've been former president of the HOA, and back in the spring of 2023 is when this first came to light. And as an association, we kind of got together and talked about all the different possibilities with regards to this suggestion proposal. One thing at that time was that the restrictions of our own HOA would prevent anyone from building a home on this lot. And at that time, 2 years ago, it was proposed that this particular sale would be outside of the HOA, it'd be an island, so to speak, not part of Fowler's Bay North or Fowler's Bay, the original Fowler's Bay Association. And at the time, as a president, I was questioning the fact that if you have an island that's not a member of either one of those, how are you able to access your property without coming through the front access gate, which is paid for by the HOA association dues of Fowler's Bay? Or if your house catches fire and you need to access the fire pond, which is now paid for by the Fowler's Bay North Association dues, it didn't seem very equitable or fair at all for someone to do that. So that's one thing I think we need to look at is truly, if you're gonna be a part of an HOA, does it meet the restrictions that are part of that development that was originally written back in 2005? The second thing is that the timing of this had to do with the fact that my next door neighbor passed away back in the middle of January. He was very much opposed to this. And I believe that this was kind of brought back on the agenda, trying to get in without the rest of us knowing about it. So I appreciate our neighbors who are here and opposing it today. And our final thing is that if you go out and visit, I advise you to go out and look at this property. You'll see that my property, as well as the one next to me, which is 28629, is very much below the surface level of that lot. I have no idea how you ever develop a house on that property without having runoff coming down into my property as well as 28629. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seats up here. For those in the back.
Somebody else?
No, I was telling them that.
No,
they
we were
were
just saying they could sit down if they wanted to, you know, if you had something to say.
Okay, so did you want to make one more comment?
As far as any water runoff, there is a drainage easement on that lot that runs across the whole, I believe, eastern lot line about 50, I think it's 50 feet wide. I have to double check the plat. So if there is any runoff, it's gonna run down that drainage easement and then to the, and then to the stormwater management.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll talk about this again next month.
Jerry, one more comment that I could. The gentleman that couldn't be here, and again, I can give you his contact information later. That's his major concern. That's lot is kind of, you know, sloped down. And he's also under that. He's concerned about water drainage. So, again, I'm not so certain about what he has to say. I'm sure he's right. I'm not sure what he's talking about, but I think if you come out there and look at the lot, you're gonna say, wow, yeah, there could be a water issue for that.
Thank you. Yeah, if we haven't gone to see it yet, which I think we have, we'll make sure that we're out to see it. So thank you for anything from the board. We'll pick this up again next month, okay? Okay, number 7, a conditional use, 4901 Big Bend Road. Mr. Gryle, are you here? Here.
They, we did, may not have known about it, but Pam from the company that representative back in November, she knew about it.
She was.
She should be online. I'm here as well.
Okay.
Oh, you're here for them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sure, you can come forward, please.
They're all muted, so unless they send me a message, I have no way of knowing.
Can you state your name and
Sure,
where you're from?
Jake Remington. I'm with the law firm Hush Blackwell. We're here after the county has reviewed and voted to recommend approval of the application. And it was before the town back in November. Some of the comments and questions have been addressed. And applicant is obviously willing to meet all of the conditions set forth in the county's recommendation. So for to the town, questions.
Anybody from the board, any questions, comments?
I think one of my questions is this is definitely falling within the village growth area, so I don't even know if we have much say before the village would even have to approve this, correct?
Yeah, I mean, but this is in the town, but.
Right,
yeah.
but they have control over 2 miles. Right?
That's only for subdividing.
Okay, so this
I
wouldn't
don't
fall under
believe it's
that?
for rezone.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
still a town, but
I
you,
would double check with Michael.
Okay.
but you are correct, there's some concern about development right there as
Mhm.
as well, so even though the development is an actually.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a concern that people have had. There are people building homes there, and I don't know if they even know that this cell tower may go up or not. I don't know if that's something that they're being told. I'm not sure. So,
I'm
yeah.
not sure why we would mention it to them.
Yeah.
It's located in the town
Yeah.
of Waterford, so.
Any questions, or anybody else?
Or they were here in November too, so.
Anybody here who wants to make a comment about that? Does anyone want to make a motion with this tonight?
Mike, So the question that was being raised was whether or not, the village would it even be notified because it's within 2 miles, but my understanding that would be
Yeah,
for.
first of all, you gotta understand, Tom Grow's a client of mine. Grow's family's been a client for 4 years,
Okay.
and I was involved with the initial work on this. But I can tell you this is not a land division.
No,
They're buying a easement only. Okay, the
Right.
attorney can go over that, but, it's not a land division. The county approved it, subject to coming back to the town for its approval, basically for you to impose conditions, which I think you already did at the first meeting, so more than that, I don't wanna say, but again, this isn't a land division to buying an easement. I don't think the village is involved with this because it's not a it's not a zoning change as
Right.
far as I know, and it's not a land division.
correct.
That's my. That would probably help your development with a better reception, but that's again,
Right.
my opinion. I don't think there's any neighbor objection that I could see, but maybe.
You want to make any kind of motion?
Yeah, I will. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
First and second, any more discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Did I hear?
Yeah, Tom seconded. Yeah, Tom seconded.
Okay. Okay.
Tina, that wasn't
well,
me. That wasn't me who seconded.
Oh,
It
I'm
was-
sorry.
That was Joel Dickinson.
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry,
Joel.
sorry. Where's Joel? I didn't even know he was on there. Oh,
There.
Okay, are we straight?
I thought it was.
Just sitting here in the dark.
Okay, number 9, the
I'm
variance.
sorry, so did everybody, you call for a vote? I missed it.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
I said no.
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 Tina, I voted no.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So 3 to 2. All right, number 9, Perkansky, lots 34 and 35, Gulf Road in Hillside.
It's only like.
Can you say your name and address, please? You can move that mic down.
Okay, it's Beth Kasansky. I currently live in Berlin, so I don't know if you want that address, but this is concerning a lot in Gulf Road.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I was just with the address, did they get that?
Did you get her name? Are you guys, did you get her name and address?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's on the agenda. I have her packet in front of me.
Okay, so I was just requesting a variance to build something that's a little bit smaller than what meets the minimum requirements for square footage in the town of Waterford, but it does comply with the county of Racine square footage requirements.
I don't know what anybody, but I just want to tell you that I have spoke to, there's an issue with water. There's a large issue with water on that. Do you? Oh, sorry. We have an issue with water in the area. I've spoken to some people that have got some large issues with water around that area. Did you?
I heard a little bit about that. Another reason that it might be nicer to have a smaller structure to allow for a little more drainage. But I'm not personally familiar with the water. I think we'd have to probably build the house up a little bit. It's kind of, we've cleared the lot now, so we kind of have an idea of what it looks like, and it is kind of dipped down right now, so something's gonna have to be addressed to do that. But so we're looking at, I guess, you know, if we build something smaller with the detached garage, that might work better with the drainage situation than building something that's larger and taking up more of that space.
Just trying to look out for your best interest. And again, this is the farmer in me. What I do on a napkin doesn't always match when I get and start moving dirt around. Maybe you might want to consider talking with somebody who's got experience with grading and so that you understand, the water management and how that fits aesthetically, right, with what you want to do, you know, with your home and perhaps a garage. I don't know what.
Well, if there is a real drainage issue, I guess when we purchased the lot, that was not something we were aware of.
Well, and these things can be overcome, but I guess the point that I was just trying to make, and again, thinking about your best interest, because it wouldn't be good for us to make a decision that would go against your best interest, and we're a little bit unsure about the water management here, and I think it would be good for us as well, most importantly for you to really understand, you know, yeah, this is how this could be handled. So there's no worries, we can, and then that gives you peace of mind, that gives us peace of mind. And, you know, I'm really not trying to weigh things, but, you know, helping you make an informed decision as well as us. And I'm sure it can be done. It's just a matter of making sure that you understand what the best practice is to manage, you know, the water.
I appreciate that. Do you feel like a smaller structure would be helpful with regard to that as opposed to putting something much larger?
No, not necessarily, but, you know, and again, without.
No.
Technical expert, but I would just say that when you have somebody with grading experience, you know, they can look at that property and they can tell from their experience, you know, how water is going to move, if you're going to redirect it, what's the best way to do that. And as you redirect the water, it has to have someplace to go. And, you know, what does that look like? And here again, and again, not trying to prolong the discussion here, but you think about things from the standpoint of, you know, how to manage varying degrees of and amounts of water that could happen, because you certainly don't want any flooding in anything that you're going to build.
Oh, no.
And so the question becomes, you know, how do we manage the water, and then how do you get above grade, you know, so that you, you're all good and you stay warm and dry. So,
Okay. So
not trying to lecture you, I'm just trying to
No.
suggest.
So I guess I'm confused a little bit because now I have this lot
Yeah.
that I'd like to build something on.
Right.
So I will absolutely look into that and find the best ways to do it. Would you be opposed to a smaller structure?
No.
And allowing more green space and maybe putting
Yeah,
more?
no,
Okay,
no,
okay.
not at all. And we're not necessarily opposed, and I'm not anyway, to what you want to do now,
Okay.
but I do think that it would be good to make sure that you understand, we understand that your plan is going to accommodate, you know, the drainage that
Okay.
you're gonna need, and you want that,
Oh, absolutely.
and we want that. And I would not, don't try and change what you want to do, because it may not be necessary. It's just a phone call to somebody that's got some experience and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Tell me what the problems might be, and then how we
Okay.
can rectify it.
Okay.
And with your permission, I'd like to just table this, if it's okay, until the next meeting, so that way you can come back and say, hey, I feel better about this now because I've talked with somebody and this is how we would recommend.
And I'd like to add on to that, not just for your property, but the neighbor's property, because I have talked to some neighbors who are, and they'd like to talk as well, who are concerned about water. You know, there's an issue there, so I agree that we would need to make sure that that's taken care of first before anything else is done on that.
And I lived back there my whole life, and I know that is a lower area. And even when you do build, you will have to have some kind of a watershed runoff through the town, through the inspector. So no matter what, that's gonna have to probably be looked at either way. Even if we approve the 800, you're still gonna have to go through those steps when you do build, because that is an issue in that area.
So do you have some recommendations that you can give me about who to contact with regard to the landscaping or water?
Yeah, or probably.
I think Tina could, right?
Engineer.
Kapoor,
Kapoor, yeah.
yeah. There are engineer for the town.
Okay, okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, so did you still want to speak, Tom? And Paul,
I think Paul probably had more to say. It's
could you please, can you come forward?
one of us.
Oh, you don't, if it's okay for him to come forward. Otherwise, we'll see. Sir, I know your name, but can you say it for the record, please, and your address, please?
My name is Paul Clutt, and I live on 4418 Gulf Drive. And I lived in my home for 62 years. And ever since I lived there, for 27 years, I never once had a water problem, not once, in 27 years. Then in 1990, they built a house right down the street from me. And it flooded so bad that that my whole yard was flooded, and it was right up to the garage. And I had burnt the furnace out, and I had burned my water pump out, and the sump pump went out in the middle of the night. And I got up in the morning, and all I could think of, somebody would get electrocuted. And so I got a plumber at 5:30 in the morning. I called him, and he was there at 6 o'clock in the morning. And he hooked it up with a generator. And then, so then it cost me a few $1,000 to get a new furnace put in and a water pump. And so then after that, I had the house down below me. I went down and talked to the guy, and he was swimming around the water up to his waist. And so he didn't have much to do with me. So I left, and ever since after that, I had nothing but water problems. And I had Larry Proudkeeper up, when I was so flooded again, he came up to the house and he parked his Jeep. Parked his Jeep about 6 inches from my garage. And he got out and put his big hip boots on and walking around in my yard. And I had built a bridge. And he was down there and right down, but it's only about 30 feet from the house. And he, with his hip boots on, the water was over his knees already. And so ever since that, I had every twice a year, I worry about how deep the water's gonna get. And if you build another house down there and you fill it in, I'll tell you one thing, I don't know what's gonna happen to my house, because I worry about my foundation. Because the water, it gets so deep, it just comes in through the basement. And but I can't go another keep going like this and having all that fun. And but I tried my best, and I tried to. And when Landmaster came up, he came up. We walked around in the yard, and we went up to the hill. And I told him, he was telling me that he would thinking about getting an engineer to straighten the water out. But that was the end of that. And so I've been suffering every year with this water problem. It just gets so deep that me and my wife, that's all we can think about is our house and our foundation. So, like I said, you put another house down there, which I'm all for building, but there's a water problem, and the water cannot get out. And when I moved up there, I was a caretaker up there for 12 years. Nobody knows that woods better than I do. I lived there for 62 years, and there was underneath the gravel road. There used to be a culvert, and on the other side of the house, our road, the water would go down in the ditch to level it off. You know, when they took that culvert out and built that house down below me, and the water used to go around in back of that house, but they built it up so high that they closed that off too. And, that now when the water goes down, I'm in a low spot, I know that. But I'm not the low point, because when it floods, the water comes down past my house, it goes down to that other house, and it keeps banking up, you know, such levels off, it comes into way up to my yard. So, and I got pictures, if you wanna see them,
I've seen them.
huh?
You might wanna see them.
Yeah. You wanna see pictures?
Sure, and
Take
appreciate
a look at
the,
those pictures,
appreciate the information.
and I'm not exaggerating. And at times, the water went around my house. Because one time, the water was so deep that I couldn't get my car out of the garage. And so then I had to put a blacktop driveway, I built it up 6 inches.
Yeah, and I mean-
It's still my whole yard floods, my driveway's flooded, I don't even have a driveway.
And this kind of bridges back to our earlier request, you know, when you look at this, I mean, water can have a mind of its own, especially when there's a lot of snow and then there's a melt and ground's frozen, and so, you know. water's
That's
gonna go.
when it does,
Right.
it was frozen, then we get 2 feet of snow. And then, but even though, when they froze, we get 5 inches of rain, 4 or 5 inches of rain
Right.
in the summertime, I get flooded because the water keeps going down and it keeps backing way up.
And so this is where, you know, this is what engineers do. They take a look at not only the site, but you have to think about existing sites, and you have to think of the different scenarios where the water may go. And that's part of why we're kind of requesting this information, because it's not just about the request tonight. It's about, you know, how this will impact surrounding sites. And I appreciate your information, and your pictures are very clear of what happened.
Now, but I want those pictures back.
Yeah, well,
We'll get them back to you. Brianna will get them back to you.
There was one that was really pretty, and I kept.
Like I said, and I love my area, I lived there for 62 years. And, that's my home.
Yes.
But if this water keeps going like this, it's driving me out.
Yep. So that's what we're
It
looking
really
into.
is.
Thank you.
And like I said, I just can't keep going with every couple times a year, I get 5 inches of rain, and then I sit there and worry. And again, you know, back in my, last winter, at 4 o'clock in the morning, I was laying in bed, and I seen a light flashing bright and dim on the side, in the back of my house. So I got up, and when I looked outside, the house was on fire, all the electricity. And I grabbed my fire extinguisher, and I went and I made it out myself. The fire was on the house this high already. A tree from the other people that owned the property twice went over on my house. And I paid for it myself to get it. And I tried to contact these people, but they didn't, and I mean, with my insurance company, they had a heck of a time trying to. But I got squared away though, on that, but you won't believe the house was, and I went out there with my pajamas on and made that fire out, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you, Ms. Flip. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. You have your pictures back?
Yes.
All right.
Like I said, I just wanted this for,
Thank you. And that's what we're gonna try to
Yeah.
get straightened out here. Tom, Monica,
Sure, just a couple,
anything else?
something short, yeah.
Tom
name
Monica, I
and
live
address,
at
please.
4429 Golf Drive right across the street from this lot. And I've witnessed the water coming in and flooding his yard and getting into the road. And to my other neighbor, call him Young Paul, we got Old Paul, Young Paul. And it's flooded into his driveway too. Mine is sitting up pretty high, so the water's not an issue for me, but I just wanted to come and just confirm that part of it. And the other part I had was the small structure that they want to build on it. My house is probably valued at $450,000, and to put something small like that, you know, like a cottage across the street from it, I don't think would be very good to add value to my investment of my house. So those are the 2 points that I wanted to make.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So do we have a motion to table that?
No, we don't.
Can we have a motion to table this?
We're up next. So I would move to table this request with the request for some additional information regarding how this lot would be improved to manage the water, not just on the lot, but to also keep in mind possible water management in surrounding sites.
I'll second that. Story.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Can we go back, I'm sorry, can we go back to the Grile, conditional use? I need to make sure that I have the, because both Tom and I are a little confused. There's 6 of you, 2 of you, so for all, there was only 2 that opposed this?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So 2 to 4. Or
Okay.
6 people? Okay.
Yep. Beautiful.
All right, we already did the correspondence. Any forthcoming events from anyone? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned at 5:47. We'll take a 5-minute break before town board. Call this meeting in the town of Waterford Board to order on March 10th, 2025, 5:51 PM. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Start the approval of the town board minutes dated February 10th, 2025, special meeting minutes dated February 20th and February 26th as printed.
I'll make a motion, but I do have one thing to add for the minutes from February 10th. Under 3, excluding the minutes from January 20th, seconded by Supervisor Galbraith. We needed to hear the audio on that. That's why we tabled it at that time. Otherwise I'd gladly make a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
A second on that.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All in favor then?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna do Tony Spence.
Mike, use your mic.
Welcome.
Hi, folks. I guess, good evening. If you don't mind, I'm gonna hand this to the board real quick before I speak, and then I'll come back to the microphone. Just a few flyers that contain information as we speak. So. And if you're okay with it, I'll start. Does that sound okay? Sure. Well, thank you. First of all, again, I'm Tony Spence. I'm the superintendent for the Waterford Graded School District. We are based in the village, but certainly provide educational services for most of, if not all of, the town of Waterford. Of course, there are some that are part of other neighboring districts like Caldwell as well. We are in our 3rd round of asking our voters to consider a referendum. And I think it's challenging because I think everyone knows this is not an ideal state to be in, but it's also kind of our option that we have left. So we are at a point where April last year, we failed a referendum. There was 62% no. And that was pretty resounding. We had asked for 5 million for 4 years to cover our budget deficit. When that failed, we did make 1.75 million in cuts, which is roughly 12 staffing positions, as well as pretty significant changes within our benefits and insurance processes. So with that, it doesn't resolve what is a growing budget challenge due to inflation, due to a reduction in state funding, and as well as federal funding as well. So what's happening is now in November, we went back and we reduced the amount to 3 million for 4 years. And again, a helpful change. We of course made pretty significant cuts to the budget. And then what happened is it was a no vote of 52%. So the needle was moved, and that was progress. But I think no one can deny that voter turnout certainly played a part in that. And it's a significant piece. And so we're not going to see the same happen in April, but here we are back again April 1st. This time we're still asking for 3 million over 4 years. And that tax impact, to be very clear, is $25 per 100,000. So as an example, if you have a $300,000 home, that would equate to $75. And many have asked, well, what does that equate to then over that 4-year term? And so that would be a one-time increase of the 75, and then it would be flat or go down potentially from there. So it's not $75 more every year for 4 years. Also, this is what's called non-recurring. Non-recurring means that we're not asking for an indefinite period of time, like 400 years. We're asking for 4 years. And after 4 years, then that would expire. It doesn't renew automatically. We would go back to our voters and ask if the need is there. Also, if things were to change from a budgetary perspective, we do not need to levy the full amount. So if the referendum were to pass, if something happens significantly with the state budget or even at the federal level, we would not have to levy to the full extent if that is the case. Another part of that is, we've been told to tighten our belt, and it's always fair to say, do more and make sure you're being as efficient as possible. And no one would doubt that that is a key part of our processes. But also it's true that we did make a pretty significant cut. That cut was pretty deep and it was tough. Not gonna lie, the fewer individuals that we have in our system, as well as rising class sizes, are taking the toll. But we're still out there giving a very quality opportunity for all of our students. But we want to hold the line. This referendum is not about putting anything back. This is not about adding things. This is about maintaining what we're doing and making sure that our next level of cuts, which would be up to 9 more classroom teachers, another counselor, as well as support staff, supporting events and co-curriculars at our middle school, are to name a few. Those are some of the significant ones. And then also, of course, looking at deferring our maintenance and technology. So we've been pushing back those replacement cycles for a long period of time, but anything that has a surface on it is taking its toll. Rooftops, pavements, sidewalks, anything that you might stand on or be a part of or be sheltered by adds up pretty fast. In fact, we have 2.5 million in pavement projects that are waiting in the ranks. So again, we're trying to stay on top of the maintenance of things, but we keep having to defer those as we continue to look at our budget. Another thing is that programs, once they go away, it's rarely that they ever come back. So we did have to cut orchestra, and that was before my time. I've been in the district 2.5 years. Once that program's cut, there's very rarely a surplus of funds that you'd say we need to bring back other programming. Once they go, it's really hard to ever find opportunities to bring them back. What's also on the line for us is our technical education Fab Lab, as well as our family consumer sciences. Those are programs and include staff members. And one thing that happens is when we look at those cuts, we have built a middle school or renovated a middle school that really features those things. And if you've been to our middle school, which is a beautiful place, we have an amazing lab. It's the former gym at the middle school. That's how notable that space is in terms of providing educational opportunities for our students. We want them to have choices that are more relevant than the standards. And again, we appreciate the reading, writing, arithmetic, right? All those things, and those are important. And we're not moving away from that, but we also want students to have a lot more exposure than just that. Another piece is that when we talk about passing a referendum or failing a referendum, we have to continue to move forward. So the district has made plans for both. We're not sitting and waiting. We're not idle. In fact, as anybody asks, everyone would know we take every dollar, of course, as seriously as we can, but we also are hopeful because there isn't much happening from a state level that we can lean on. It doesn't mean the state wouldn't provide additional funding, but it's been marginal at best. Also, from a federal level, obviously, this is something that everyone's heard about. There's not any certainty about the Department of Education and its existence going forward. Last year, we had about 500,000 in federal funding that we received from the government, but that range has been between 500,000 and 2 million, depending upon the year. So it's pretty substantial as well. So once again, with a bit of uncertainty, with a lot of challenges within a state budget cycle. In other words, there's a surplus of over $4 billion in the state right now, but it's not necessarily all going to go to education. In fact, one of the major factors is there was a poll that came out recently, and for voucher schools, the funding went up about $3,300 per pupil, and ours went up about $300 per pupil. And again, there's some really great private institutions out there, so I'm not throwing any shade, but it's tough when we're fighting for our own budgetary processes and the increases we're receiving are a fraction of what some of the other institutions might be getting. Another piece that I'd like to point out is, this is not about desperation. However, there are some districts that have announced that they would potentially shutter their doors and close down if they did not pass an operational referendum. Boston was one of those. They did pass. I'm not trying to say that about Waterford Graded, but I want to be clear that we're running out of fund balance. It's the thing that we use to pay our bills and make payroll, and we do not get all of our taxes and state aid all at once. So it's not just one large pot of money that is sent at the beginning of the school year. So we have to bridge the gap between when we receive those revenues. And we have to short-term borrow. This is the first year we've ever done that as a district. And unfortunately, not only are we borrowing money, but we have to pay that interest too. And so far we've paid about $9,000 in interest, which again, that's just wasting of everyone's money. And, but it's what we have to do to continue to make payment on our bills as well as payroll. I'm going to say a couple more things and I'll get out of your hair. The first is that we do not want to have a district that does not provide what we currently provide. And I'm going to say that one more time to be very clear about it. We do not want to have a district that provides less than what we do right now. It doesn't make sense. We have a really great district. I'm proud of it. I live in the community. I'm in the village. I obviously work next to the middle school, and every single day I drive by the middle school and I look at it. Right? It's not just about the appearance though. It's about what happens inside. And all that happens inside, including all of our elementary schools, is a really high quality education. But again, what's standing on the line of that is larger classes, less programs, and even more challenges with the budget. So we want to be as efficient as possible. We really want to have the pride and the opportunities that happen for Waterford Graded to continue, because this is a great community. I've been living in this community for 12 years now. And all my kids have gone through, right? I want the same education for all students that come through again. And also what we deliver to the high school has to be of high quality. I'm going to end with a final piece, and that is we are separate from the high school. And I know it has to be made as a distinction, but it's something that isn't a bad thing. It's just there are two districts. We're not alone. There are 3 other feeders that feed into the high school. The high school did pass their referendum in February, which is a great opportunity for them to be able to address the things that capital referendum did. Once again, this is an operational referendum. It's $3 million per year for 4 years. After that point, it expires. $25 per 100,000, one-time increase, not every year. And we are again separate from the high school. So even though there's a bit of fatigue, how many times are we going to get asked about a referendum? We do have to provide the distinction. We are 2 separate districts. So I want to thank you for your time. I don't know if there are any questions here or other thoughts. Otherwise, just want to thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I skipped over. I was so excited to listen to Tony. I forgot about the approval to pay claims. So we've got the treasurer's report that I'll read. The general tax checking as of 3/1/25, $440,741.83. General operating money market, $4,456,269.29. And the reserve funds and the undesignated ARPA funds will be at the April meeting. We were a little behind in everything because we had some invoices that weren't turned in on time from DPW and from the village for the policing. So if I can have a approval to pay claims, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims. I do got some questions I gotta follow up with Heather on some of the things that were.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Okay, first and second, any discussion?
Just that I'll follow up with Heather tomorrow.
Oh,
On my questions.
Okay, okay.
I mean,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Can I ask one question? Have we heard anything back from the DNR yet? If we're getting, how much we're gonna be getting back from them?
Or.
The water patrol last year.
Oh, okay, we get lots of.
I'm
funds
sorry,
from
sorry,
DNR.
I should have.
For water patrol, I know that the submittal was approved,
Okay,
that it's going through, but I don't think it's.
okay. I thought it was like $28,000.
It could have been, I don't recall,
Thank
but it has been submitted.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're gonna move into public comments, and I'm just gonna go in the order that I received them. So I have Sammy, Cavatone, Sammy. Number 8 for the UTV, so you can come forward, just state your name and address, and you can hold the microphone down. Way down. Sammy Avatine, 6617 Willow Lane. So again, talk about the UTV ordinance possibility. So I grew up here in Waterford, specifically in the Michigan Lake Peninsula area. Moved here when I was 4 years old and have lived here ever since. Bought a house just down the road from my folks. So like I said, grew up here, rode bikes, learned how to drive a car down the roads, learned how to drive a motorcycle. I walked the roads quite a bit. Recently been able to now start using a golf cart. And I'd love to be able to add a UTV to that list as well. So we've really enjoyed the privilege of being able to drive the golf carts. We can go visit family, visit friends. We're able to be in the parade route too, visit other establishments. We also use it as yard cleanup, which is very helpful for us. And we're a tight-knit neighborhood. We work with each other to help do our yard work. A lot of my neighbors are not permanent. And so we use our golf cart and haul all of our yard waste in the golf cart. But I'd love to be able to use a UTV, which is maybe a little bit more appropriate for that type of work. So thanks, Rihanna, by the way, for letting us use your yard. So like I said, would love to be able to use the UTV for most of those items as well. I personally would use the UTV to access other areas, like the Michigan Wildlife area. I do a lot of hiking in that area. My family would use it to access other hunting areas as well. You can get to Jensen Park, obviously other establishments as well. So it's in my opinion that this board should approve an ordinance to allow ATV, UTV access in the town roads. Thank you. Bob Vale?
Ditto.
I like that.
Hi, Bob Bale, 6915 Burma Road. As many of you know, I've been at this for 12 years now, with the ATVs, UTVs. I've spoken with DNR, spoken with Mayor Rick, Town of Muskego, McGuanago. Union Grove is allowing it on Church Road only so far. They're working on the rest of it. We've narrowed it down to a ordinance that everybody seems to be okay with. DNR number 1. It wasn't everything I wanted, but I gotta start somewhere. So I'm hoping that the board moves to a vote for this today. And I think we've crossed all the Ts, dotted all the Is. And is there any questions the board has that I can help with? We had the committee with Doug, Bob, myself, and had spoken at the time with the DNR. And that's the only thing, he had an ordinance, he says it's a good starting point and that's the norm right now. And that's what Muskego has, that word for word. And just hope we can move to a vote and move on. So please. That's all for now.
Thank you. David Orton?
I don't know if I stay here.
I'm sorry?
Wherever you get up there.
He'd like to stay seated.
Sure.
I want to talk about our police department. Are we a town of ordinances and rules? I believe we are. I believe that the residents have to follow the rules. and the ordinances, I believe the town board has to do the same thing. I take issue with a snap judgment that was made that the police ordinances don't pertain. How can they not pertain? We have squads, we have police. I don't care if it's city, I don't care if it's town, I don't care if it's Waukesha County, Racine County. Comment was made last meeting by council that them ordinances are old ordinances and they don't pertain. I'd like to know exactly which ordinances do not pertain. Well, the water patrol is in there. Without them ordinances, we don't have a water patrol. If the comment is correct. The comment that was made was that because of ordinance 2.06, that we don't, that doesn't pertain to us. I'd like to know why. If I've got to follow the ordinances, so do you. That's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mark Corley, and I can't read Brian.
Right.
We didn't have any specific comments, we just
Yeah,
wanted.
can you give your name and address?
Oh, yeah.
This is for the,
Yeah.
if you have questions in regards to this special event, that's why they filled out the form.
Yeah, I'm just
You're gonna
going in
wait for your
order.
agenda.
Oh, okay.
Taking
Yeah.
action during this.
I'm just going in order of the.
Okay, okay. Sorry, guys.
Just say,
Good.
Go ahead.
Brian Scarborough, we just wanted to field any questions or concerns you had regarding the special events.
Okay, so you just want to be here to
Yeah.
answer any
Yes,
questions?
we're here if you need
You'll
us.
make them
Yep.
comment, okay.
Yep.
Eddie Owen
She's tires on another one's car.
Don't make it come up. Ed Olander, 4609 Riverside Road, Waterford Woods. I think this is the last hurrah to determine what we're gonna do before the election. And the results, if they go the way the majority of the town residents want, we'll probably come to a moment in time where we look at this as the worst time ever for the history of the town of Waterford, and then move on. I want to read something because I don't know how many times I've been asked. I've been approached and I've had sidebars with Sheriff Smaling. Why are you so opposed? Why are you so opposed? And you all know I've been up here a number of times, and the first thing I say is, I'm still vehemently opposed to the Racine County Sheriff's Office. I got nothing against them. If it was Waukesha, I'd be opposed. If it was Detroit, Walworth, whatever county, I'd be opposed. Because you all know, maybe some people don't know in this room, we are getting support, law enforcement from the sheriffs. The Racine Sheriff's Department has jurisdiction over the whole county. And like very, very many Racine or county sheriffs, they work with municipalities. Up to the point where we're at a size in our municipality, not even including the village, that we have to move forward with local police department or police officers. There's no doubt about it. As we start growing, we're gonna have to have that. If we abolish that, it's just gonna have to start all over again and a lot more money for the community. And I don't think we'll be any safer. And with that, let me get this up. With that, I like to read something, because one of the things that I was opposed to is, number one, if we do a contract with the sheriffs, you guys have no control. You ain't gonna vet anybody, you ain't gonna tell them what to do, you ain't gonna tell them who you want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As a contractor, they'll tell you. So I was, somebody said, hey, the sheriff's got a target on your back. Why? Because I called out some bad actors at the sheriff's department. And I'm not that naive that knowing, no matter how big an institution, police department is, Congress, whatever, there's bad actors. It's as simple as that. And you can't
shoot them all down like we did the police department. That's just the way it goes. It has to be that way. For 100 people that are good, we're gonna have a couple bad actors. And I did look that up, and there are bad actors. And I think a couple times I said, look up the WPD and find me a past or present police officer that was wearing a jumpsuit, orange jumpsuit. Is that me? Oh, okay, sorry.
Well, that's the-
So anyways.
yeah, that's the timer.
So I called up a couple bad players, and like I said, I didn't mean to, I just want to make the public aware that, you know, and this leads to, we have no control, who we're getting, who we're betting, et cetera. So the last one, if somebody's paying attention, just recently, the next deputy police officer, Racine County Sheriff's deputy, was sentenced to 65 years. 65 years with additional 40 years of supervision. I won't mention his name, was sentenced for 65 years of prison for 21 felonies, most of which involve sex crimes against children and animals. Here's a quote from the judge, and this is what I'm getting at. I tell my kids from a young age, if there's a problem, run to law enforcement. They will help you. Judge John Frederickson said to Kite, this is his name in the courtroom, if they ran to you, I don't know what would happen. And neither do I. I got 4 granddaughters, 3 years old to 16 years old. We bring them into the village, whatever. That makes me nervous. I was never nervous during the WPD. Am I out of time?
Yeah, the timer went
No
off.
time for a joke?
Quick joke.
All right. I don't judge people. Okay, bad actors, whatever. And remember the biblical parable where Jesus goes walking into the village and all of a sudden he comes upon the square. And there's the villagers, rocks in their hands, getting ready to stone a woman who did a bad thing, tied to the post. And what did Jesus say? Paraphrase, lest he who be without sin cast the first stone. So villagers dropped this stone to the ground. And does anybody know what happened after that? All of a sudden, a rock comes flying past Jesus' head. Hits the woman in the head. And everybody's in shock. And Jesus turns around and looks and says, Ma, I didn't mean you. Good night.
Thanks, Ed. Tanya May. Name and address, please.
Tanya Maney, 6911 Big Bend Road. Using facts, data, and the board members' own words, I would like to sum up the last 18 months pertaining to what has happened with our WPD. On December 30th, 2024, Ms. Nicolai made the statement, "We have gone through literal hell to get things back to the way it's supposed to be." But have you really? The timeline of events will beg to differ. According to open record request files, on October of 2023, the board made a motion and passed to post for a full-time chief's position. Knowing for the majority of 2023 that Chief Johnson would be retiring in early 2024. In November of 2023, there were 15 applicants for the chief's position. In January, Chief Johnson retired and Lieutenant Jusky was made interim chief. In May of 2024, the investigation started. That was 6 months between the 15 chief candidates and the start of the investigations. At this point, we had 10 full-time and 12 part-time Waterford Police Department officers. One of the repeated talking points as our WPD continued to come under extensive scrutiny, resulting in further investigations and resignations, was that our officers were not properly trained as there was no FTO training manual specific to Waterford. In July of 2024, officers worked on preparing an FTO manual, some on their own time, so that the board could move forward with hiring. The FTO manual was completed and presented to Mr. Ulander and Ms. Nicolai and was given no regard or attention. In email exchanges, Ms. Nicolai stated that, quote, "Plans have changed and to hold off for now." 8 months later, we are still hearing how not only can new hires not be sought, but part-time officers such as retired Racine County Sheriff Officer Dan Reese cannot help out because they cannot be trained without an FTO manual. The September 30th, during a joint meeting with the village to discuss policing, the question was posed, how do we know our policing needs unless we have the data? Both boards motioned and passed to collect data for the past 3 years to better understand our policing needs. The village board followed through and put together the information on the data that they collected, but once again, the town did not follow through. In October 2024, the board voted and passed to repost the chief's position, and there were 7 applicants. It is now March of 2025, and to our knowledge, we are no closer to hiring a chief than we were 17 months ago. On December 23rd, 2024, the village gave a third option to create a joint PD. Both boards passed a motion forming police committees. On December 30th, 2024, this board passed a motion 5-0, and this is, quote, to form a police committee to get a plan in place to keep our local police department. We are now down to 4 full-time and 1 active part-time officer. January 13, Chairman Nicolai appointed members of the town police committee to work with the village for a joint PD. January 20th, during an open session, an unethical 2-to-1 vote was taken by the town chair, Supervisor Ulander, to contract with Racine County Sheriff, even though the board just a week before committed to a police committee to keep our local WPD. On February 18th, Mr. Ulander wrote concerning the January 20 vote, I seized an opportunity that presented itself when a supervisor unexpectedly has been challenged, left the meeting early to take action that would have likely ended in a tie vote. Why was this even on the table when the board already voted to keep our WPD 3 weeks earlier? February 26th, at a special board meeting, a motion was made to, quote, have the police committee oversee the PD and work to monitor it. It passed 3-1. A non-resident took to social media claiming the motion was to form a police committee to oversee the PD. This started a firestorm of misinformation where members of this board ran with that false notion that the town board formed a new committee and there were now 2 police committees and that the new one wanted to take over the role as supervisor. This was never stated in the motion. And it was actually Ms. Nicolai who went on to use the word supervisory during talks of that meeting. The motion was clear to have the police committee appointed by Ms. Nicolai oversee the WPD supervisor to whom Mike May was named the officer to take on that duty. March 3rd, Ms. Nicolai shut down Officer May from role as supervisor, putting Waterford in a position of great liability as there is no one currently in a position of supervisor over the WPD. March 7th, Ms. Nicolai canceled the police committee meeting, citing the committee is, quote, is working outside of its scope of authority, and until that is remedied, no further actions by that committee is to be taken. How is the committee that was formed by Ms. Nicolai to keep our WPD working outside their authority by finally moving this forward when she has failed to do so in the last year? Thank you.
Thank you for your dissertation of the facts. Ms. Fedorzi, please.
I'll yield my time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sorry?
I'll yield my time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we're going on department committee reports. Sadly, Mr. Hura had a death in his family. We extend to him our wholehearted sympathy. It's been a hard time for him for quite some time, and we'd like to extend that to him. So of course, he's not here today. Tim, if you want to give the report for him, please.
Sure. Chairman Kramer appointed vacancy to District 14, Jamie Hoffman and Troy McReynolds for District 19. County Executive Mick Malecki withdrew the funding for the ice arena that was previously been approved because he's worried about a deficit in 2025. Several members from the town resident base and also the town board spoke at the last 2 county meetings in both support of and against the issue of how to address the water policing status. Many thoughts and opinions are shared, including the request to the county board to hold off on deciding any decisions until after the April election. At this point, there's no agenda item for this to be addressed at the county level. However, that could certainly change at any time. So that's his report.
Thank you. And report from the police department.
I have a report.
Just get fire.
So last month, we had 4 fire calls, 10 EMS calls, 2 accidents. We went to help our neighbors 3 times for EMS. And we also went to help our neighbors 3 times for fire calls.
I'd like to thank them for inviting the town board over to watch the demonstration on new extrication tools. It was very enlightening. Watch him take a door off a car in less than 30 seconds was rather impressive. So I think it's a very good investment.
And we appreciate that because in our line of work, seconds mean everything. So appreciate that. I did answer your email. I didn't get a chance to email you back. We have been looking at that contract. I spoke with Doug tonight. And then, we're still planning on working together to stay, correct? Like, we're not going to other outside departments?
No, we're gonna be sitting down talking to you once the chief gets back in town.
Sure.
Anything from Waterford Fire? Oh. WWMD?
WWMD. Tom,
Terry. Terry, I'm going to be giving the update on WWMD for Bill McCormick. Bill is unable to make it tonight. 3 notable items for WWMD. First, feels a little weird, but the WWMD board appointed me as the new chair to replace Greg Horace. So that's why I'm giving this update here in Bill's stead. Moving forward, it'll be me as the chair of the WWMD for the next couple of years, filling Greg's term. 2 other notable updates. The WWMD is going to be going out for public bid for a labor contract for the labor force to operate the mechanical harvesters on the waterway for the 2025 season. So that's going to be happening within the next month. And the WWMD is also going to be going out for public bid to update the Waterford Waterway Lake Management Plan as required by law. That plan must be updated every 5 years in order to get our DNR permit renewed for the aquatic plant management plan that we execute each year. So that public bid is going to be going out as well. The estimated cost on that lake management plan update is roughly $30,000. It was last updated in 2020. Good news is that the WWMD has applied for and received approval for a grant from the DNR for $20,000 for that purpose. So that should defray a significant cost to riparian owners for that lake management plan update. It will take a while to do that lake management plan update. And in the meantime, the DNR has assured us that we will have an interim permit approved to execute the APM plan for 2025 until the lake management plan is updated. Those are my updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, nothing for Board of Health. Kenny Park?
I don't have a whole lot for the park. We get 4 brand new garbage cans for the park. Jim, taking care of that. Yeah, I do all of us. Yeah, they're 20-some years old, but yes. But that's all I have for the park.
Roads?
On the roads, we had a public information meeting on the February 13th here with all the homeowners on Peter Park Road. They're interested in the project. It's all laid out. There's 4 engineers here answering all the questions. Once again, that's a $950,000 grant that will be going off for bids this week. They just finishing up on some of the wording in the grant that the engineer wasn't happy with. He wanted to get that cleaned up. So the funding wouldn't be any lapse in the funding the way it was written. So he got that cleaned up, and that'll go off for bids this week. That's all I have.
Are they still gonna have bike paths and a sidewalk?
Correct.
Okay.
I was told that they narrowed it down about 3 feet, or 2 about 3 feet on each side for the park.
Like that, pedestrian pathways, no, those will still be 11 feet. I mean, 5 feet, 11-foot traffic lights.
Thank you.
And then the weight limits will be like this coming Monday. We have the weight limits on for total 96.
Thanks. Tim, town planning?
Number 6, amendment to a subdivision, plat line was tabled to next month. No decision. Conditional use site plan review, Grile, 4901 Big Bend Road, northwest corner of Kramer Drive and Highway 100, Highway 164. Constructed new 199-foot mobile service facility and mobile service support structure. That passed the board 4 and 2 against. We need a motion to approve
Yeah,
that.
motion to approve this. Recommendations.
Just a one, I got one more too.
No, it's not me, but.
Somebody keeps on reading.
So would somebody want to make a motion to pass the structure for the tower?
Also move.
One second.
Second that motion. Is the gentleman still here from the,
Yes.
tower?
For Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Yeah.
This gentleman right there. And Mr. Arnold's
Oh,
here too.
okay. It said it's supposed to be a monopole, but the, picture shows a lattice pole.
You gotta use your mic. Thank you.
Say it again. The paperwork says it's supposed to be a 199-foot monopole, but the drawing shows a lattice pole.
Yeah, if that's a condition that we would change it so that it's a monopole, I'm not sure that was in the application or in the CDs. Construction drawings would be the ones that are.
In our packets, it still showed it as a lattice tower.
Can you refer to where it says a monopole? That,
Yeah, otherwise I can show.
If you got it handy. It's on the February 25th letter from Racine County to the Towers LLC.
yeah, if they're agree to meet all conditions provided by the county's, letter. So if that's a condition that would be revised and submitted.
Then it said they were changing the security fencing to a panel fence, but they don't say what the height of the fence is. The old one was 6 feet. Will this be the same or will it be higher?
It could be 6 if the town board would like it higher, we could add that as a condition as well.
And will the town be receiving any money from any of the, what do you call the repeaters or receivers on the tower?
For the mobile carriers that are on the tower?
Correct.
No, it's a private easement on private property, so it's leases between the property owner, the entity that constructs the tower, and then the mobile carriers.
And extend the road right away, okay? Nice try, buddy. Is the driveway going to the tower still gonna be right against the property owners, or it looked like the stakes were moved a little bit?
I believe it is, but again, I know that was discussed, the proximity and then the being paved or gravel, so again, if those are conditions that are being requested by the town, we would, so those, I think the way the county phrases it is that there's more stringent conditions imposed by the town, those will prevail.
Okay, because I noticed where the stakes were originally, they were moved about 2 months ago.
I believe they moved it away from the property line.
Yeah,
so-
that's.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Anything else, guys? You have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, we've got whole business discussion, possible action regarding UTV use on specific town roads. We all have the
Terry, there's one
information.
more thing on the planning commission that was tabled.
Oh,
Town level
sorry.
variance, Parkinski vacant lot, vacant land, they want a small house on it, but that was tabled due to water issues. We'll be revisiting it.
Have a motion on that.
There's no motion for this table.
We have to have a motion on it because it was tabled by them.
All right,
Planning commission done.
Okay, discussion possible action, UTV use on specific town roads. We've all got the information packets on that. We've got the resolution. And we have typed up other information as well. So we're going to start with any questions or comments from the board. We went through this before a couple years ago.
I'd like to thank Bob for doing the work on there. I also did pass out to the board members a copy of the ordinance from Muskego. They just passed it, and actually isn't on their website yet from what they said.
So we have a copy of the ordinance that.
Yeah, I don't see mosquitoes. I saw one that was made up of town of Waterford that was just in my box.
Did you pass that one down, Tom? Sorry.
We've already heard from people who are wanted to talk about that. I don't have any other public comment forms. Did anyone sign up or wanted to sign up to speak against it at all? So can you come forward, take your name and address, please?
Yeah, my name is Bob Wilson, 28235 Easy Lane. I'm not necessarily speaking against this. Last month, when it was brought up, I wanted to give my take on what the laws and responsibilities really are, and it was pretty much shut down by that. And when I volunteered to be part of the discussion as to moving forward, I showed up to the meeting. Meeting had been canceled. I left my contact information. Nobody ever contacted me. So again, here we are. Again, I'm not speaking against the ordinance. I just wanted the facts to be noted before a decision was made. That's all.
I did try getting someone from the DNR to come speak. We couldn't get anyone to come. I know that we've gotten information from them in the past. They have an entire packet full of information. Thank you.
Chair, can we even do anything on this? Because the agenda says discussion and possible action regarding UTV use on specific roads. Mentions nothing about ATVs or anything like that. And Mr. Bill mentioned that he drafted this, but it's completely different than the Muskego one that we just got from Supervisor Schwartz. I'm not against the UTVs or ATV, but if we're gonna do it, we should do this right. Not just do something for UTVs because that's what the agenda says. If we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
That would have been an oversight on my part. I don't know why I left ATV off. It wasn't intentional, just so everybody knows.
I don't think that's
I don't think that's a deciding factor. We're talking about ATVs on specific town roads.
I just know from reading the stuff we had from last meeting, there was a lot of people, and maybe times have changed. It's been 7 years, and I don't have a problem with it changing. But there was 188 people clearly written down that were against it last time. And I thought last time I heard we were doing 45 miles or less. Now it says 35. So again, I don't know how many roads we have of each. The 35 is probably gonna cover most of our roads. But I know my road's 45 on North Lake Drive, so.
Just out of curiosity, as a resident, is this would be on all roads that were, so if they're going down Buena Park Road, they go into subdivisions and all that? Is that what I'm understanding?
Do you want me to read them? Because they're not feeling that great.
Just use your mic.
Yeah, yeah, so let me read to you what we've got as far as an ordinance. I'm gonna read it for Bob. This is not doing that super great today. So basically the town board, this would be authorizing use of ATV, UTVs on town of Waterford roadways having a speed limit of 35 miles per hour or less in accordance with and subject to Wisconsin statutes and applicable Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources regulations. Operators of UTV, ATVs within the town of Waterford should carry a valid, non-probational driver's license. So that would be 18 and over. ATV, UTVs may be operated only on designated roadways as identified by appropriate signage. Signage will not be provided at town expense. Operators of the ATV UTVs operating in town roadways shall carry proof of insurance on their person or in their vehicle. Electronic format is acceptable. ATV UTVs shall be registered with the Wisconsin DNR, display up-to-date registration. All occupants under 18 years of age shall wear a helmet. ATV UTVs may only be operated in single file. Headlights must be on at all times. ATV UTVs may not be operated on private property without the owner's permission. And all rules of the road contained in Wisconsin statute 346 apply unless modified by Wisconsin statute 22.33 DNR regulations or this ordinance. So that's what our ordinance reads, so as far as speed limit and particular rules.
The reason for the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit is because the statute says a city, village, or town may enact an ordinance to authorize the operation of all terrain vehicles and utility terrain vehicles on a highway that is not part of the national system of interstate and defense highways that has a speed limit of 35 miles per hour or less.
Yeah, I've got some concerns. I looked at some other ordinances too from the village of Summit in Waukesha County. They had quite a detailed one. I can appreciate the brevity of this proposed ordinance, but there's a lot of things in other ordinances that are not covered in here. It talks about designated roadways. Well, there's no list of designated roadways. And if it's every roadway under 35 miles an hour or less, that would include residential subdivisions. And I've heard from people from Buena Park to Michigan Road saying that they're really unhappy with the reckless driving from golf carts. And those are relatively quiet, but bringing in ATVs, UTVs with 99 decibels, driving around disturbing the peace. A lot of people are upset about that idea. Tim mentioned we had a previous petition of 180 or more people in opposition. Stuart Frost spoke previously. They own 1,600 acres of land. He's concerned about damage to their farmlands. Again, concerns about noise. Summit excludes some roads. Again, no designated routes are shown. Safety equipment. I motioned to have this for golf carts, and it was not included in golf carts. But safety equipment such as headlights, taillights, brake lights, seat belts, rear view mirrors should be included in the ordinance. No open intoxicants should be included in the ordinance. Hours of operation should be included in the ordinance. Summit has from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. I think East Troy is a little different. There should be no operating in municipal parks, no operation on sidewalks, bike lanes, gravel shoulders, or ditches. Insurance and registration should be required. Muffler modification should be prohibited. Cruising should be prohibited where you just drive around the same neighborhood time after time after time. Nothing in there about town liability or immunity. Operating only with tires, not studded tires. And can they operate on DNR lands? We've got the Fishing and Wildlife Refuge. Can we have ATVs and UTVs ripping through there, chasing deer? It would be nice to have somebody from the DNR to let us know whether that's allowable or not. So those are some of my concerns. I think it's a little preliminary to pass this. I'd like to see us address some of these other issues and maybe take a look at it next month.
Those are all addressed in the DNR 23.33.
Not in here.
It is incorporated by reference that says that it incorporates the state statutes and DNR regulations.
Other ordinances do list those things specifically, and I think we'd be remiss not to. But nobody's gonna know what those are just by reading this. Oh, there's no state statute attached, so.
In order for them to be operating, they should be familiar with the laws. I mean, we don't attach the state road rules to our town ordinance either, but everybody knows the rules of the road.
They're licensed drivers.
Anything else, Scott? Okay, someone wanna make a motion for today?
I would move to approve the ordinance subject to the attorney's review and approval of it. And an opportunity to revisit this at the October meeting to get any feedback on how it's going for the community.
I'll second that.
Okay, first and second, any more discussion?
You say October meeting?
Yes, to give it through the summer timeframe and
Let's see how it worked or didn't work.
sort
I just have one more question.
Sure, you can come forward real quick.
So just to be clear, are we talking about town roads only? We're not talking about state highways, and we're not talking about county highways, and we're talking about town roads 35 miles an hour or less.
town roads 35 miles an hour or less, no private property unless you have the permission of the property owner, no culverts, no ditches, no, just town roads.
Correct. And then we'll revisit in October and see how that worked or didn't work.
And the town is not gonna encourage us for the signage.
Well, yeah, the town won't be responsible for signage.
Okay, and the signage will be done according to, the signage posted at all points of entry into the town?
It'll be done in accordance with the DNR requirements.
Okay.
And I believe the snowmobile club has offered to fund those signs.
Okay, and, how does this affect the village?
It has no impact on the village.
So these units will still not be allowed in the village?
The village would have to take care of that on their own.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, we have a first and second, all in favor?
Hold on a second, did the snowmobile club agree to this or not? Anybody know?
They agreed to help with the fundraising for it, so yes, it'll be taken care of without the town expense.
So there couldn't be any driving until the signage is up.
That's my understanding of the laws, yeah.
Correct.
I will happily amend my motion to include that until the signage is up, just to make it clear that until the signage is up, that this ordinance is not in effect. But it's also subject to the review of the attorney, so it's not with immediate effect anyway.
Correct. You got that, Tina?
And I'll revise my second to that also.
Okay. We have a first and second on that, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. I'm in opposition until some other issues that I had mentioned are addressed.
Thank you. Okay, do we need a motion to, the board to move the review of the ordinance changes discussed at the October 14th special meeting as it relates to the recodification to the April 7th town board meeting? I'm sorry, April 14th. 14th.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks.
I'll second it. Aye.
Got it, Dale?
I think so.
First and second.
I was quick with the part.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion of possible action regarding police supervisor authorities. We're revisiting this because we need to get this done. We need to get it done properly. I spoke with Attorney Dubus and I spoke with DA Tricia Hansen. We talked about Mike May being a supervisor, and that's great, but we just need to make sure that it's done correctly, because the committee that was formed, it was against town ordinance. It was a violation of town ordinance 1.03 subsection 5. So in order to give authorities coming out of that, that would be incorrect to give any authorities coming out of that. That would give credence to the motion that was made. That was an incorrect motion that is against town ordinance. So all we need to do is, by the board, make a legal motion to put Mike May in charge, so we can give him the authorities for the county to make sure that it's done correctly. So can I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion to have Mike May as supervisor, especially goes also along with the police policies, I believe it's 200.06, that the senior patrolman would be in charge.
Second that motion.
Person second, any more discussion?
Just want to make sure that includes all the IT access as appropriate.
Correct, it's for the IT access with the county. The person second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. And new business special events application, Michigan Lions Club, Mark, you guys want to come up front? Ice to the Skies, which I'm guessing is the new thing for the Balloon Fest, June 26th to June 29th, 2025.
And we've actually had another name change. It's gonna be Family Flight and Balloon Fest. That's the official. So any questions for us? This is our third year of hosting. So Lion Greg has done it in years past, but obviously with this situation, Lion Brian is gonna take over the reins this year for the event.
It looks like you guys are gonna have a lot more aerial events in case the balloons can't.
That's exactly what we were going for, because the balloons haven't gone up in so long that we decided to try to make it more aerial themed instead of so focused on balloon.
Is this earlier in the year or is it about the same date as last year?
Same.
Okay.
Brian Starberry, he's like it sounds.
So we do have the application, we just need to make sure we get a site plan, the insurance, everything like last year, right? Okay. You can just email it. Okay, I'd like to take a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to, pass a special event, whatever the name is now,
And they're on temporary class D.
family and some.
Eyes to the skies.
Nope.
And Family Flight and Balloon Fest.
There you go.
I'll second it.
And they're class B too, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Special event class B.
Okay, so just the insurance and the site plan.
Yep.
And the form filled out.
Are we
Okay,
gonna go through
first and
the,
second, any more discussion?
are we gonna go through the review of the remainder of this application?
Yes, so you did receive your application with review with everything that we need to go through, correct? And we'll get that filled out and
Yes.
pop back in. And if you don't, just make sure you see us, we'll make sure we'll take care of you, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, first and second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll see you at the event.
Okay. And next, discussion possible action repairing the soffits at the town hall. I know we have the roof done, thanks Doug. And we, at that time, the roofing company, for the soffits, it was too much. So Lou at the sanitary district had found something a much better price. And because we shared, like the cost of the roof, you're looking to share the cost of the soffits. The total cost of that is $4,700. And they're just looking for $2,350 or whatever the percentage is from the town. For the town to do their percentage on that, so we can get that done and it can be good to go and it can match.
When I checked, it's 50%.
I believe I gave you guys a copy of the invoice, correct? Yes.
Their budget item that was coming out of capital.
Did you, whoever wants to make the motion, want to tell where it's coming from?
Yeah, which accounts, yeah. Every Heather will know, because Heather we.
Yeah, so can I have a motion on that?
Obviously, it's kind of, we didn't budget for it.
Town building maintenance capital.
Yeah, we probably could have.
56005.
Or maybe, yeah.
I make a motion to take 2375 out of account number 56005, town building maintenance capital. Second.
For this purpose, obviously.
Have a second on that?
Second.
You said second? Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And the chair report, I just want to make it, because some of the numbers came in and I've been hearing that investigations and legal fees had cost $300,000. Actually, the total number came in at 125. Wish we didn't have to do any of it at all, but that's what it came in at. And, again, contracting services would definitely save us over $500,000 a year. We could do that in the interim until the joint PD with the committee was designed for, comes up with a plan. So can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Second motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
6:55 PM, thank you.